There comes a moment when the mirror no longer shows your reflection. It shows your memories, your regrets, your mistakes. But my dear, you are not the story that broke you. You are the lesson that rebuilt you. Pain is a teacher, not a punishment. These words are not just a comfort. They are a truth carved in the deepest corners of life. When pain enters our story, it rarely knocks politely. It bursts in like a storm, uninvited, unapologetic, and often devastating. It takes away what we thought we could never live without. It leaves us questioning who we are, why it happened, and how we'll ever move forward. But somewhere within that storm lies a quiet wisdom waiting to be found. Because pain, though cruel in its arrival, is compassionate in its purpose. It never comes to destroy, it comes to deliver. We often see pain as life's betrayal, as if we are being punished for existing, for loving too deeply, or for daring to dream. But pain is not a curse, it is a classroom. It sits you down when you least expect it and says, listen, there's something you need to learn here. It teaches what joy never could. It reveals truths that comfort often hides. Pain shows you who your real friends are, what truly matters, and how deep your strength runs when everything else is stripped away. You may not understand it when you're in it. When your heart is heavy and your tears are endless, it feels like punishment. You beg for it to end. You bargain with life, pleading for the lesson to come without the suffering. But the truth is, growth is rarely born in peace. It is born in pressure. Diamonds are made in darkness, not daylight. Flowers bloom after the rain, not before it. And the soul, too, becomes beautiful through what it endures. Pain teaches humility. It reminds us that control is an illusion, that we are not the masters of every outcome. You can plan, prepare, and pray, and still life will surprise you. Pain whispers, you are not in charge of the storm, but you are in charge of how you sail through it. It teaches patience, compassion, and understanding for yourself and for others. Because once you've walked through your own fire, you stop judging how others walk through theirs. You begin to see pain not as a wall, but as a bridge that connects us all. There is a strange beauty in pain. It refines us. It strips away what is false. It removes the masks we wear and shows us what is real. When you've been broken, you learn the value of wholeness. When you've been betrayed, you learn the sacredness of trust. When you've lost, you learn the meaning of gratitude. Pain teaches contrast. You cannot appreciate light if you've never known darkness. You cannot understand joy if you've never met sorrow. Every tear is a lesson in tenderness. Every scar, a story of survival. Sometimes pain stays longer than it should. It lingers in the corners of your heart, revisiting your memories like an unwelcome guest. But even then, it has something to teach. It teaches you to listen to your body, your heart, your intuition. It reminds you to slow down, to breathe, to heal. It teaches you boundaries, how to say no, how to walk away, how to protect your peace. Pain becomes your silent mentor, guiding you to honor yourself in ways you never did before. You may not see it now, but pain often reroutes you to your purpose. What breaks you may also build you. What wounds you may awaken you. There are people who found their calling through heartbreak, who discovered compassion through loss, who learned courage through fear. The path to wisdom is often paved with discomfort. And while it may feel unfair, it is always necessary, because you can't evolve while standing still. Pain moves you. It pushes you toward the person you are meant to become. Think of all the times pain has changed you, the heartbreak that taught you self-worth, the failure that led you to a better path, the loss that reminded you how precious love truly is. You wouldn't be who you are today without those experiences. The depth of your empathy, the gentleness of your heart, the strength of your spirit, all were born from moments you thought would break you. You didn't just survive, you transformed. Pain, when understood, becomes a sacred language. It teaches you to speak gently to yourself, to forgive yourself, to honor your own healing. It makes you more patient with life's timing and more trusting of its process. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift, though small, changes everything. It turns bitterness into wisdom, wounds into wisdom, and suffering into purpose. Pain is not here to punish you for loving, for trying, for believing. It's here to guide you toward deeper truth. Every great soul you admire has known pain. Every strong heart carries scars. They did not rise despite their pain. They rose because of it. Pain polished their spirit, refined their purpose, and strengthened their voice. It does the same for you if you let it. There comes a point when you look back and realize that what once felt like the end was really a beginning, that what you lost made room for what was meant to be, that every tear watered the garden of who you are now. Pain taught you resilience. It showed you that you could bend, but not break. It taught you that even when everything is stripped away, your spirit still stands. So the next time pain visits, don't turn it away with anger. Sit with it. Ask what it came to teach. It may come to show you where you've been neglecting yourself, where you've been too forgiving of others and too harsh on yourself. It may come to close a chapter you've been afraid to end. Pain never arrives without a reason. It is not chaos, it is correction. It is not punishment, it is preparation. One day when the ache softens and the lessons settle, you'll thank the pain you once cursed. You'll realize it taught you to see beauty in broken places, to find light in the darkest moments, to trust in the power of becoming. Pain is not the enemy of your story. It is the mentor that molds your soul. It is the quiet force that makes you stronger, wiser, and infinitely more human. Pain does not come to stay, it comes to shape. And once its work is done, it leaves behind a version of you that you've never met before, softer, braver, and free. Because pain was never your punishment. It was your teacher, guiding you back to yourself. Reflection isn't residence. It's a doorway, not a destination. You are meant to visit your past, not live there. But too many hearts build homes in memories that were only meant to be lessons. They replay conversations that ended years ago. They nurse old wounds as if the bleeding never stopped. They stare at the same door that's already closed, hoping somehow it might open again. Yet the truth is that reflection is meant to give you wisdom, not walls. It's meant to make you understand, not to make you stuck. There's a difference between remembering and reliving. Remembering allows you to learn. Reliving keeps you chained. The past is like a mirror. Look at it too long, and you stop seeing who you are now. You only see who you were then. Reflection has a sacred purpose to help you understand your journey, your choices, your growth. But when you stay too long in reflection, it becomes residence, and residence turns into regret. Too many people live as prisoners of their own history. They hold on to what ifs and if onlys like anchors. They measure their worth by mistakes that no longer exist in time. They let the shadows of yesterday dim the light of today. But you are not meant to live in rewind. You are meant to evolve, to change, to move forward. Reflection is the teacher. Residence is the trap. Sometimes we go back to the past not because we miss it, but because it's familiar. Even pain feels safe when it's known. The unknown scares us, so we revisit what hurt us just to feel in control. But every time you relive an old moment, you pour fresh life into what was meant to die. You can't heal if you keep reopening the wound to see if it's still there. Healing happens when you finally trust that it has closed. There's nothing wrong with remembering. Memory is a gift. It reminds you where you came from. It reminds you of your resilience. But memory should serve your growth, not stall it. Reflection says, that happened and I learned. Residence says, that happened and I'm still there. Which one are you living in? When you reflect, you see the lesson. When you reside, you see only the loss. Reflection is the bridge to healing. Residence is the weight that pulls you back into sorrow. Life was never meant to be a repetition of your pain. It's meant to be a continuation of your purpose. Every morning gives you permission to begin again, but you cannot start again if you are still unpacking your old story every single day. You owe it to yourself to visit your past only long enough to take what you need, wisdom, strength, understanding, and then walk out with your head high. Don't redecorate the rooms of your old suffering. Don't light candles in memory of people who already moved on. Don't turn your scars into shrines. Reflection should remind you of how far you've come, not how much you've lost. When you stand still in reflection, life moves without you. The world keeps turning, opportunities keep passing, love keeps calling, but you're still standing at the crossroads of what was. You think you're being loyal to your past, but in truth, you're being unfaithful to your future. You can honor your history without becoming its hostage. The past shaped you, but it was never meant to hold you captive. Sometimes people mistake reflection for loyalty. They feel guilty for moving on. They fear that letting go means forgetting, but letting go does not erase the story. It simply releases the suffering attached to it. You can carry the wisdom of what was without dragging the weight of what hurt. Reflection says, I remember, but I am free. Residence says, I remember and I am stuck. The choice between the two will decide the quality of your peace. The danger of residing in the past is that it steals the present. You start reliving conversations instead of creating new ones. You keep defending yourself in arguments that ended long ago. You keep loving ghosts instead of opening your heart to the living. Reflection whispers, you've grown. Residence screams, you can't change, but you can. You always can. The walls that hold you are made of memory, not reality. Look closely at your life. How many times have you punished yourself for something that's already forgiven? How many times have you turned down joy because you were still busy mourning the version of yourself that made a mistake? You are not who you were when you stumbled. You are who you became after you stood up. Reflection helps you see that truth. Residence hides it from you. You must learn to visit the past like a traveler, not a tenant. Collect what's valuable, the courage, the clarity, the lessons, and leave behind the rest. Don't unpack your bags there. Don't keep rearranging the pain. The past doesn't need your presence anymore. Your present does. The person you were then was doing the best they could with what they knew. The person you are now knows better, and that's what growth looks like. There will always be things you wish you could change. Words you shouldn't have said, doors you should have closed sooner, but reflection is about understanding that even those choices were part of the journey. They taught you what love isn't. They showed you what peace feels like when it's gone. They led you here, wiser, softer, stronger. You are allowed to acknowledge your mistakes without living inside them. You can forgive yourself and still learn from yourself. Every time you revisit the past, ask yourself one question. Am I here to learn or to linger? If it's to learn, take the lesson and leave. If it's to linger, remind yourself that staying there costs you your now. Reflection nourishes the soul. Residence numbs it. Reflection opens the door. Residence locks it. You deserve to live in the light of your progress, not the shadow of your pain. The past can't offer you anything new. It already gave you its gift, even if it was wrapped in grief. Don't miss the blessings waiting in front of you by staring too long at what's behind you. Life is not found in remembering what broke you. It's found in creating what heals you. The truth is simple. Reflection makes you wise, But residence makes you weary. You can't build a future while sleeping in the ruins of yesterday. It's time to step out of that place. Close the door gently with gratitude, not bitterness. You are not abandoning your past. You are honoring it by moving forward. Because reflection isn't residence. It's the mirror that shows you where you've been so you can see more clearly where you're going. Healing is choosing peace over replaying pain. It sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest choices the human heart will ever make. Because pain, even when it's gone, leaves echoes. It lingers in memories, in songs, in moments that remind you of what once was. It lives in the corners of your thoughts, whispering, "Remember?" And the heart, tender and loyal, listens every time. But true healing begins when you stop answering those whispers, when you stop replaying the story that hurt you and start writing the one that frees you. Peace is not the absence of pain. It's the decision to stop feeding it. It's looking at what happened and saying, "You no longer control how I feel today." Every time you replay a wound, you relive it. The mind can't tell the difference between memory and moment. It bleeds again, it breaks again. And soon, pain becomes a habit. You find yourself addicted to your own suffering, visiting the same memory, telling the same story, asking the same questions that have no new answers. But peace asks for courage. It asks you to stop visiting those old rooms and open the window to a new day. Healing is not forgetting. It's not pretending the pain never existed. It's remembering without resentment. It's looking at the scar and saying, "Yes, I was hurt, but I am still here." It's standing in the ashes and realizing you survived the fire. Peace does not come to those who fight their pain. It comes to those who make peace with it. You cannot win against something that is already over. You can only learn from it, forgive it, and release it. Replaying pain is an act of fear. Fear that if you let go, you'll lose the meaning of what happened. Fear that the hurt will be forgotten, that justice will never come, that your story will lose its weight. But healing is an act of faith. Faith that what you release will not be lost, that the lesson remains, that peace is stronger than pain. You are not dishonoring your experience by choosing peace. You are honoring your future by not letting pain be the author of it. When you choose peace, you choose silence over chaos. You choose rest over revenge. You choose to protect your energy instead of proving your worth. Peace says, "I will not let this memory take another piece of me." You cannot pour light into a wound you keep reopening. You cannot plant seeds in soil you refuse to stop digging up. Healing begins when you stop asking the pain for answers and start listening to your soul for direction. There comes a point when the mind gets tired of rehearsing the same heartbreak. The heart gets weary of carrying the same sadness, and the soul whispers, "Enough." That whisper is the beginning of peace. It's the soft surrender that says, "I can't change what happened, but I can change how I hold it." Peace is not found in fixing the past. It's found in forgiving it. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve your peace back. So many people mistake healing for forgetting. They try to erase the pain only to find it resurfacing stronger. Healing is not erasure, it's transformation. It's taking the pain and turning it into wisdom. It's looking at what broke you and realizing it built something inside you. Understanding, compassion, strength. Replaying pain keeps you small, trapped in the moment you were wounded. Choosing peace lets you grow beyond it. Sometimes peace looks like walking away from people you once begged to stay. Sometimes it looks like silence in conversations where you used to defend yourself. Sometimes it's simply choosing not to think about it today. Peace is quiet power. It's the strength that doesn't need to be loud. It's the calm that comes when you stop trying to control what's already happened and start embracing what's still possible. There is a part of you that believes replaying the pain keeps you safe, that if you remember every detail, you can prevent it from happening again. But that's a lie pain tells to keep its seat in your heart. Replaying doesn't protect you, it poisons you. It keeps you stuck in survival mode long after the danger is gone. Peace, however, teaches trust. Trust that you have learned enough to move forward, that you are wise enough now to recognize what no longer serves you. Peace is also an act of rebellion. The world often glorifies struggle. It tells you that to heal, you must relive everything, dissect every wound, analyze every hurt. But peace says, no, I don't need to bleed again to know I've healed. You can choose peace without explanation, without apology, without closure from others. Closure comes from choosing not to reopen what hurt you. Every day you have two options: to replay or to release. One keeps you in pain, the other sets you free. The story of what happened will never change, but your relationship with it can. When you replay it, you give it power. When you choose peace, you reclaim it. Peace is not weakness, it's wisdom. It takes courage to stop rehearsing pain that no longer deserves the stage. When you begin to choose peace, you start noticing beauty again. Small things you missed when you were too focused on the hurt. The sunrise looks softer. The laughter of others doesn't sting anymore. You find joy in the little things because your heart is no longer too heavy to hold them. That's what peace does. It makes space for joy to come home. Healing is not about getting back to who you were before the pain. It's about discovering who you are because of it. Pain changes you, but peace refines you. Peace teaches you to stop identifying with your suffering. You are not the heartbreak, the failure, the betrayal. You are the soul that endured them and still chooses to love. There will always be moments when memories return, uninvited. That's okay. You don't have to fight them. You simply don't have to feed them. Let them pass through you like wind through trees. Let them visit, but not stay. Each time you choose peace over replay, you weaken the hold of the past. Each time you say, I release this, your heart becomes lighter. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel the pain again. It means the pain no longer controls the rhythm of your days. It means you can think about it without losing your peace. It means you can talk about it without trembling. It means you can smile again, not because you forgot, but because you survived. Choosing peace is not passive. It's powerful. It's an active decision to build a life that feels safe, calm, and full of meaning. It's choosing to rest when your mind tells you to overthink. It's choosing to trust when fear tells you to doubt. It's choosing to love even when you've been hurt. That's real strength, the kind that pain cannot destroy. So when your heart starts to replay the hurt, pause, breathe. Remind yourself, I don't live there anymore. Peace is not something you find. It's something you choose over and over again until one day it becomes your home. Healing is not about erasing the past, it's about rewriting the meaning of it. And every time you choose peace over replaying pain, you are reminding life and yourself that you are free. Forgiveness is freedom, not a weakness, not surrender, but the quiet power that unties the knots inside the heart. It's one of the most misunderstood forms of strength because it asks you to do something extraordinary, to let go of the very thing that once gave your pain its reason. To forgive is not to erase the past, it's to release its power over you. It's to stop letting old wounds dictate how you live, love, and breathe today. Forgiveness is not about them, it's about you. It's not about excusing what happened. It's about choosing peace over poison. When you refuse to forgive, you think you're protecting yourself. You think that by holding on to anger, you're holding on to control. But unforgiveness doesn't protect, it imprisons. You lock the door and swallow the key, believing you've trapped the offender inside, but it's your own soul that sits behind those bars. Resentment is a heavy thing to carry. It hardens the heart and clouds the spirit. Every time you replay what they did, every time you relive the betrayal, you reopen the wound and let it bleed again. Forgiveness is the moment you say, "No more. I will not let this story own me any longer." Forgiveness is freedom because it breaks the invisible chains that keep you tied to what hurt you. When you forgive, you are not saying, "What happened was okay." You are saying, "I choose not to let it define me." You are no longer handing your peace over to the person who broke it. You are reclaiming your power, because the truth is, the person who hurt you may never apologize. They may never understand the pain they caused. They may never change, but you still deserve peace, and forgiveness is how you give it to yourself. Some people believe forgiveness means reconciliation, but it doesn't. Forgiveness can live quietly in your heart, even if the relationship never does again. You can forgive and still walk away. You can forgive and still choose boundaries. You can forgive and never speak to them again. Forgiveness is not about returning to what broke you. It's about healing the part of you that was broken. It's choosing to stop watering the weeds of bitterness and start planting the seeds of peace. It takes immense courage to forgive. It means standing face to face with your pain and saying, "You no longer have power here." It means releasing anger that has become part of your identity, letting go of a story that made you feel justified in your suffering. For a while, the anger feels like armor. It protects you from vulnerability. But in truth, it also keeps you from joy. You cannot wear anger and peace at the same time. One must fall for the other to rise. Forgiveness is not something that happens all at once. It's a process, a gentle unwrapping of the heart. Some days you'll feel free, other days the old pain will return like a familiar echo. That's okay. Healing is not linear. Each time you choose not to feed the anger, not to relive the wound, you're forgiving a little more. Forgiveness is not forgetting what happened. It's remembering it with wisdom instead of rage. It's looking back without wanting to go back. There's a quiet moment in every journey of forgiveness when you realize the person who hurt you was also hurting. Their actions were reflections of their own brokenness, their own fear, their own ignorance. This doesn't excuse what they did. It explains why they couldn't do better. Forgiveness grows when you understand that hurt people, but healed people heal. When you choose to forgive, you choose to stop the cycle. You become the one who ends what should have ended long ago. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You carry the weight of your own mistakes, your regrets, your bad choices. You replay every misstep until it becomes a prison of guilt, but you too deserve forgiveness. You were learning, you were growing, you were surviving the only way you knew how. The same compassion you give to others must be extended inward. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you ignore your responsibility. It means you accept your humanity. You let go of the shame that keeps you from evolving. Forgiveness is freedom because it clears the path for your spirit to rise again. When you stop feeding your anger, life begins to taste sweet again. The air feels lighter. The sky looks wider. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of what happened, but as a student of it. You start to appreciate the lessons pain brought. Boundaries, strength, awareness, empathy. Forgiveness transforms what once was a wound into a window, one that lets light back into your soul. You might think that holding on to resentment is a form of justice, that somehow if you stay angry, the pain won't be forgotten. But justice and bitterness are not the same. Bitterness only burns the hand that holds it. It doesn't change the past, it just poisons the present. Forgiveness doesn't mean you stop caring about justice. It means you trust life to handle what you no longer need to carry. It's choosing faith over fury. Forgiveness doesn't rewrite the past, but it reclaims your future. When you hold grudges, your energy becomes tangled with memories that no longer deserve your attention. The more you revisit them, the less space you have for new beginnings. Forgiveness clears the clutter. It makes room for peace, for love, for joy to take root again. It's saying to life, I am ready for something new. The power of forgiveness lies in its quiet grace. It doesn't announce itself with loud declarations. It happens in the small moments, when you think of them and feel nothing, when you remember and no longer ache, when you can wish them peace and truly mean it. That's freedom. That's forgiveness in motion. It's the freedom to exist without resentment as your shadow. Forgiveness is also an act of self-respect. It means refusing to let the pain of another person's choices dictate your worth. You no longer let anger tell your story. You reclaim your voice, your peace, your dignity. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's emotional sovereignty. It's saying, I no longer belong to what happened to me. I belong to what I've become because of it. When you forgive, you release the chains that tie you to yesterday. You make space for tomorrow. You stop living in reaction to pain and start living in creation of peace. You begin to love again, not because the world is perfect, but because your heart has learned how to stay open in an imperfect world. So yes, forgiveness is freedom, the kind that no one else can give you and no one can take away. It's the breath you take when you finally stop fighting the past. It's the light that returns to your eyes when you stop seeing through the lens of hurt. It's the quiet knowing that you are no longer bound by bitterness. Forgiveness is the door, and peace is what waits on the other side. Your scars are symbols of survival, not shame. They are not the marks of defeat. They are the proof that you endured what tried to destroy you and still found a way to keep breathing. Every scar, whether seen or unseen, carries a story. Some stories are painful, some are quiet, some are still tender to the touch. But each one whispers the same truth. You survived. You went through something that could have broken you, yet here you stand, not as a victim of the wound, but as a witness to your own resilience. Scars are not meant to be hidden. They are the signature of your strength, the evidence that healing happened. When the world looks at your scars and sees imperfection, let them, because you know the nights those scars were born. You remember the tears, the prayers, the moments you didn't know if you'd make it. You remember what it took to crawl out of that pain. Those scars are not ugly, they are sacred. They tell the truth about a battle you faced and a life you reclaimed. But too often, we are taught to hide them. We cover our emotional wounds with smiles, our physical scars with fabric, our stories with silence. We fear being seen as damaged or weak. Yet, what if the opposite is true? What if the most beautiful parts of us are the ones that have known struggle and still chosen love? Scars do not diminish your worth. They deepen it. They are the proof that pain did not have the final say. There is a quiet beauty in healed skin, in a heart that has mended, in a soul that has walked through darkness and still glows. Your scars show that life didn't end when it hurt. It continued, and so did you. Some people see scars and think of pain. Others see them and think of power. You get to choose how you see yours. You can live ashamed of them, or you can wear them like medals, proof that you have lived, lost, learned, and risen again. Every scar tells a story of transformation. The person you were before the wound is not the same person who carries it now. That mark, visible or invisible, is a line between who you used to be and who you became because of what happened. Scars remind you of what you've overcome, but they also remind you of what you've learned. They carry wisdom, the kind that can't be taught by peace, only by pain. Sometimes, when we look at our scars, we see reminders of moments we wish we could erase. But healing is not about erasure, it's about acceptance. It's about looking at the places where you've been hurt and saying, I no longer resent this part of me. Every healed wound changes you. It softens your edges, deepens your compassion, expands your understanding. You begin to see that pain was not your punishment, it was your sculptor. It shaped you into someone wiser, gentler, stronger. You see, scars are honest. They do not lie about what you've been through. They don't pretend that life was always kind. They speak of brokenness and repair, of darkness and dawn, and that's what makes them powerful. They remind you that healing does not mean returning to who you were. It means becoming someone new, someone whole in a different way. The crack in the vase does not ruin it. It gives it character. It tells a story, and so do you. There will always be people who misunderstand your scars, who see your softness as weakness, your story as baggage, your sensitivity as fragility, but their perception does not define your truth. Only you know what it took to heal. Only you know the nights when you held yourself together with faith, breath, and sheer will. Only you know how many times you almost gave up and didn't. Those who judge your scars could not have survived your wounds. Your scars connect you to humanity. They remind you that pain is a universal language. We all carry something. We all have chapters we don't read out loud. But it's through those very wounds that empathy grows. When you've been through pain, you begin to recognize it in others. You start to see beyond the surface, to love people where they are, not just where they pretend to be. That's one of the gifts your scars give you, compassion born from experience. Sometimes the hardest part of healing is learning to love yourself again after the pain. The world tells you to move on, but the heart needs time. It needs kindness. It needs you to look at your scars not with judgment, but with gratitude. They are not signs of failure. They are signs that you fought for your life and won. You may not have walked away unmarked, but you walked away alive. There's something holy about that. To be marked and still beautiful. To be bruised and still brave. To be scarred and still soft. That is the essence of survival, and not perfection, but persistence. Scars are not evidence of brokenness. They are evidence of repair. They prove that the body, the heart, and the spirit are capable of mending, no matter how deep the cut once was. If you look at nature, you'll see the same truth. A tree that's been struck by lightning keeps growing, its bark rough and split but strong. Rivers carve scars into stone and still flow with grace. Even the earth carries the marks of its past. Mountains, craters, valleys, yet it remains breathtaking. Why then should your scars make you any less beautiful? Sometimes the light enters us through the very cracks we tried to hide. Your scars may be the path through which others find hope. When you share your story, you remind someone else that healing is possible. Your courage gives them courage. Your survival gives them permission to believe in theirs. That's the hidden purpose of your scars, not just to mark what you've endured, but to illuminate what others can overcome. Shame says, hide. Strength says, show. Shame says, you are ruined. Strength says, you are rebuilt. Every time you choose to love yourself despite what you've been through, you silence the voice of shame. You remind the world that survival is not something to conceal, it's something to celebrate. You are not defined by what wounded you. You are defined by how you healed. And healing does not erase the past, it redefines it. Your scars are the punctuation marks in the story of your life, proof that you paused but never stopped. They are not the ending, and they are the evidence that you kept going. So when you look at your scars, don't look with sorrow. Look with reverence. They are the reminders that you've lived through storms, that you've been broken open and still bloomed. You are not fragile. You are proof of endurance. Every scar you carry is a silent anthem of victory, a reminder that no matter what tried to bury you, you rose, you healed. And that is nothing to hide, that is something to honor. The past refines you, it doesn't define you. Your history is not your identity, it is a collection of lessons, not a life sentence. Too often, we let the mistakes, heartbreaks, and losses of yesterday whisper lies about who we are today. We carry them like heavy luggage, convinced that our past determines our worth, our future, and our possibilities. But the truth is far more freeing. Your past was never meant to imprison you. It was meant to polish you, shape you, teach you, and prepare you for who you are becoming. Every experience you've lived through, good or bad, has carved something into you, a deeper understanding, a new layer of strength, a clearer sense of truth. The past, when seen through the lens of wisdom, becomes a refining fire. It burns away illusions, exposes falsehoods, and reveals the purity of your true self. You do not emerge from pain the same way you entered it. You come out transformed, softened in some places and stronger in others. Life refines you through what you endure. Think about gold. It must pass through fire before it shines. The heat doesn't destroy it, it purifies it. The same is true for you. The disappointments that broke your heart, the betrayals that wounded your trust, the failures that left you doubting yourself, none of these moments define your worth. They refine your wisdom. They strip away the unnecessary and reveal what is essential. You learn who you are not, so you can remember who you truly are. But many people live trapped in the echo of their past. They replay old mistakes like a broken record, forgetting that regret changes nothing except your peace. You cannot rewrite what has already been written, but you can change how you read it. You can choose to view your past not as a verdict, but as a teacher. Every painful chapter was a classroom, every loss a lesson. The past has power only when you refuse to learn from it. Once you take the wisdom and release the weight, it loses its grip on you. It's easy to believe that your past defines you when you've been judged by it. Society has a way of labeling people by their worst moments, the failure, the heartbreak, the wrong decision, the broken season. But you are not the sum of what went wrong. You are the sum of what you've overcome. You are the courage that carried you forward when you wanted to quit. You are the strength that rose from the ruins. What defines you is not your history, but your healing. You must remember this. Pain is temporary, but the person you become because of it is eternal. Life refines you through friction. It tests your patience, your faith, your character. It teaches you humility, empathy, and grace. The things that once made you cry can someday make you wise. The heartbreak that once shattered your spirit can open your heart to deeper love. The failure that embarrassed you can become the foundation for your success. The past is not your enemy, it's your sculptor. And yet, you must be careful not to live there. Reflection helps you learn, but residence keeps you trapped. Some people build homes in their pain and call it identity. They define themselves by what hurt them. The one who was betrayed, the one who failed, the one who lost everything. But you are not meant to stay in the ruins. You were meant to rise from them. The past refined you so you could walk into your future lighter, wiser, freer. You see, if you never went through the darkness, you wouldn't understand the beauty of light. If you never failed, you wouldn't appreciate growth. If you never experienced loss, you wouldn't grasp the sacredness of love. The past is your teacher, but not your title. You are not your pain. You are what you became after you healed from it. You are not your mistake. You are what you learned because of it. When you stop fighting your past, you begin to transform it. You start to see that everything had a purpose, even the parts that didn't make sense at the time. The heartbreak refined your compassion. The betrayal refined your boundaries. The failure refined your resilience. The loneliness refined your connection with yourself. Life refines you through contrast. It shows you what you don't want, so you can appreciate what you do. Forgiving your past is one of the most powerful acts of liberation you can offer yourself. Forgiveness does not mean you approve of what happened. It means you refuse to let it define who you are. You release its power over you. You take back your narrative. You reclaim your voice. Because when you let go of the need to rewrite the past, you make space to write your future. There's a quiet strength that comes from accepting your past instead of resenting it. You begin to see that nothing was wasted, not the tears, not the pain, not even the detours. Every road you traveled, even the rough ones, led you to where you stand today. You carry the wisdom of every storm, the courage of every comeback, the light of every dawn that followed your darkest night. You are not a product of your past. You are a progression beyond it. When you look back, don't look with shame. Look with gratitude, because even though you didn't choose every experience, you chose to keep going. You chose to keep learning. You chose to become better, not bitter. That choice is what defines you. That choice is what transforms the past from a chain into a chisel. The past may have shaped you, but it does not own you. Every soul has scars, but the difference lies in how you see them. You can see them as reminders of pain, or you can see them as symbols of evolution. You can let your past confine you, or you can let it clarify you. When you finally understand that you were never meant to be perfect, only purposeful, the weight of the past begins to fade. You start to realize that your wounds taught you how to heal others, your struggles taught you empathy, and your failures taught you faith. The truth is, your past will always be part of your story, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. It's the first chapter, not the final page. You can honor it without living in it. You can carry its wisdom without carrying its wounds. You can remember without reliving. That's the beauty of refinement. It changes your composition without erasing your essence. So stand tall in who you've become. You've walked through fires that could have consumed you, but instead they cleansed you. You've faced storms that could have destroyed you, but instead they purified you. You've been refined, not reduced. You are stronger, wiser, and more radiant because of what you've lived through. The past may have tested you, but it didn't define you. What defines you is the courage to keep becoming. You are allowed to outgrow what broke you and still love who you were when it happened. Growth and grace can coexist. Healing does not mean you have to despise the version of yourself that didn't know better, that stayed too long, that loved too deeply, or that accepted less than you deserved. That version of you was doing the best they could with what they knew, and even though that chapter may now bring you pain, it also made you who you are. You can honor it without returning to it. You can outgrow it without hating it. You can love your past self for surviving even when they didn't yet know how to thrive. Outgrowing what broke you is an act of courage. It means you no longer let pain dictate your identity. It means you have finally understood that you are not defined by what hurt you. You are defined by how you healed. But the process of outgrowing is rarely clean. It is often lonely. It demands that you shed old patterns, familiar comfort zones, even relationships that once felt like home. Growth asks you to choose yourself in ways you never did before, to walk away not with anger, but with understanding. Because you now see that what once fit no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Still, many people struggle with guilt when they begin to heal. They feel disloyal to their past selves, as if letting go means betrayal. But it isn't betrayal. It's transformation. You're not turning your back on who you were. You're extending a hand to that old version of you and saying, "Thank you for getting me this far. I'll take it from here." Healing is not about erasing the past. It's about integrating it, carrying the lessons and releasing the pain. Sometimes we hold on to what broke us because it feels familiar. We confuse familiarity with safety. We replay the same stories, repeat the same relationships, cling to the same emotions just because they remind us of who we once were. But growth asks you to recognize that safety doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to let go of what no longer grows you, even if it once gave you comfort. To outgrow what broke you means to rise beyond the need to prove your worth to those who couldn't see it. It means no longer begging for love where it was withheld, no longer shrinking yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. It means setting boundaries not out of bitterness, but out of respect for your healing, your peace, your evolution. Growth is the quiet realization that you no longer belong to your pain story. You've written new pages since then, but here's the part people forget. You can't truly grow if you keep hating the person you were when you were hurting. That person was not weak. They were learning. They were surviving in the only way they knew how. They made choices based on the tools, knowledge, and emotional awareness they had at that time. Loving that version of yourself doesn't mean you endorse their mistakes. It means you acknowledge their effort. It means you forgive them for not knowing what you know now. Growth without compassion is just another form of punishment. If you outgrow your past but still carry shame for who you were, you haven't truly healed. Healing asks you to make peace with every former version of yourself. The scared one, the angry one, the hopeful one, the broken one. You are the sum of all of them, yet you are not confined to any of them. Every version of you served a purpose. Every version contributed to your becoming. It's okay to look back at old photographs or memories and feel a bittersweet ache. That's the language of growth, gratitude and grief coexisting. Gratitude for how far you've come, and grief for what you had to lose to get here. Healing isn't about pretending you're happy about everything that happened. It's about accepting that every event, even the painful ones, shaped your strength. It's about understanding that even though that chapter ended painfully, it gave you something invaluable: awareness, clarity, resilience. Sometimes outgrowing what broke you means saying goodbye to people you once thought you couldn't live without. It means leaving behind versions of love that were conditional or unkind. It means letting go of environments that kept you small, but leaving doesn't mean you have to stop loving. You can love people from afar. You can love them for the role they played without needing them to return. You can love without returning to the same dynamic. That's maturity, the kind that comes when peace matters more than proximity. You are allowed to move forward and still hold tenderness for the person you used to be. You are allowed to celebrate your strength without condemning your softness. You can acknowledge that the one who stayed too long was also the one who believed in love, who hoped for change, who tried their best. That version of you may have been naive, but they were also brave. They dared to feel deeply in a world that often rewards numbness. And for that, they deserve love, not judgment. Healing will ask you to revisit the places that once hurt, not to relive them, but to release them. It will ask you to look at the ruins and see not loss, but growth. You'll start to realize that what broke you also built you, that the pain that once felt unbearable became the soil in which your wisdom grew. You'll see that you can outgrow people, habits, beliefs, and still carry love for the time when they made sense. That's what grace looks like, remembering without resentment. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to speak differently, dress differently, dream differently, love differently. The world might say you've changed, but that's the point. You were never meant to stay the same. Growth doesn't mean rejecting your past. It means refusing to be confined by it. You don't have to prove your evolution to anyone. Your peace, your presence, and your light will speak for themselves. Outgrowing what broke you doesn't mean you've lost your softness. It means you've learned to protect it. You can love without losing yourself now. You can give without being drained. You can care without collapsing. That's what healing teaches you. That love, when balanced with self-respect, becomes liberation instead of bondage. So love who you were when you were hurting. Thank them for surviving. Thank them for not giving up. Thank them for holding the pieces of you until you were ready to rebuild. Then gently set them free. Step into your present self with pride, knowing that you did not just survive your breaking. You outgrew it. You transcended it. You rose above it. You are living proof that pain can turn into purpose, that endings can lead to beginnings, that brokenness can give birth to beauty. You don't have to hate any part of your journey to honor how far you've come. You can look back with softness and still walk forward with strength. Because healing is not about rejecting the person you were. It's about embracing who you've become while loving who helped you get here. You are allowed to outgrow what broke you. You are allowed to love the person who didn't know how to leave, the one who cried through the night, the one who kept believing in something better. You can love them while no longer being them. That's the balance. Evolution without erasure, compassion without attachment, love without returning. And in that balance, you'll find your peace. The quiet knowing that every version of you was necessary for this one to bloom. Life will keep offering you mirrors. Some will reflect who you were, others who you're becoming. The past is not there to haunt you. It's there to remind you that you've grown. So walk forward with grace. Take the lessons, leave the pain, and know this truth. You were never meant to live in yesterday. You were meant to rise from it.